Okay, tonight I'm going to do a little bit of a prep video on how I'm going to load my boat for fishing. Primarily be looking early season, gonna be looking for bass, smallmouth, largemouth, the occasional big bluegill, big sunfish, stuff like that. Fish of opportunity. Ordinarily I will carry a pike or musky rod too, just in case. I've already had my kids out fishing before where I was fishing bluegill, and I had situations where they'd be catching one bluegill after another, and all of a sudden the pike will come up, or large pickerel or muskie will come up and grab the bluegill on the way to the boat, and then you have no gear to try and catch them. So I've avoided that by always having a rod that's capable of taking a fish like that, just in case. Obviously I do go out on trips where I'm purposely fishing for those fish, so I have heavy bass tackle and you know, heavy action rods for throwing big musky lures or big pike lures. I'll do that too. There's actually a lake that's pretty close to me now that it was man-made. It was a flood impoundment. They flooded it. It leaked. There was a dam on it, and the dam leaked, and they had to empty it, and they repaired it, and then they restocked it with fish. So there's no barring the trout, you can't take any fish from that lake. So all the fish in it are pretty much untouched. They've been caught and released, some of them of course, but there are tiger muskies in there and regular muskies too. So I'm going to try and target that lake this year and see if I can take a muskie or two. That'd be nice. But I'm going to show you some of the stuff that I'm going to take with me and where I'm going to load it on the boat. I might do the loading on the boat outside. This is at nighttime. Inside it's already dark and stuff outside, so I'm in my boat basement. I have my rod stacked against the front of the boat there. You probably can't see them there. Let me see, right here, just behind the flag there. Expecting bad weather Saturday. Tomorrow's Friday, so Saturday morning I'm gonna go out. I'm already expecting bad weather. Got my rain gear already ready for that. It's been raining pretty much all week. I'm gonna have bad weather. I expect it. Thunderstorms, lightning, storms. It's been just terrible, absolutely terrible. It's intermittently warm, intermittently sunny. The bass are going to start moving up. You get 60 to 70 degree water. Bass are going to start coming in, spawning, you know, pre-spawn. They're going to start cruising the shallows. So hopefully we'll run into some of those, but we'll see what we find. The weather's going to determine a lot of that. But I'm going to show you some of the baits that I'm going to load on the boat for the fishing trip. Okay, first off, we're going to have terminal tackle. I don't usually carry line. I have enough rods on the boat that if I run into line issues, I'll put one rod down, pick another rod up, and I'm back fishing. I explained that on another video where, for efficiency's sake, it's easier for me because my time on the water is pretty limited with my work, especially now. I'm super busy. I don't have time to do anything, but I organize my boat so that I make the most of my time on the water. If I run into problems with a rod, I'll put it down. I won't even mess with it. I'll just leave it till when I get home. I'll pick up another rod and start fishing again. It's just more convenient for me to do that. I know everybody can't do that, of course. I have 15 different rods. I can pick whichever one I want. That's not something that's happened overnight either. That's, you know, a cumulative collection of equipment over a very long period of time. I'm gonna have terminal tackle on the boat, weights. I'm gonna be doing fishing with jigs. I'm gonna be fishing with skirted jigs. I'm gonna be fishing with soft plastic flipping baits, fishing tight to cover, fishing weed, hopefully for largemouth, fishing rock for smallmouth, or tree stump areas where there's tree stump and a combination of rock. That's pretty hot for a smallmouth. The lake where I usually fish, my local lake, they do drawdown in the wintertime, so it kills off a lot of the vegetation. It's hard to find good areas of vegetation in shallow water where the fish are going to be, you know, cruising around. I won't see that till later in the year. Usually early in the season, it hasn't started to grow yet, because of the drawdown. It kills all the vegetation around the edge of the bank, and then when it floods back up, the water level comes back up. Unless there's regular grass or weed growth in it, it's not aquatic vegetation that's growing there. It takes time for that aquatic vegetation to grow back. But it gives me a lot of clear sandy bottom, sand into rock, sand into shell beds, things like that. That's the type of areas I'm going to be fishing. So terminal tackle, I always got plenty of hooks. See here, there's my trocar box. Hope that light is not getting too much of a shine. You see I have all my hooks arranged in there nicely. I got a whole sort of, all sorts of different hooks, from big flipping hooks. I got worm hooks, I got EWG hooks, I got small flipping hooks for the smallmouth. I got swim bait heads, I got screw-in tip swim bait hooks. These hooks are expensive, that's why I have them separated like that, so they're not rattling around. The box keeps them super sharp. I also have other hooks here. You see in my other box here, I have jig heads, body jig heads. I have shaky head. I have trace if I need to. Usually if I'm purposely bass fishing, even if I'm purposely bass fishing, I will still use trace. Me and the Eternal Angler were just talking about this. He fishes St. Clair. Lots of pike, lots of muskie, walleye, fish with teeth. Bass, of course, don't have any teeth as such, like sharp teeth, but you always run into that chance of catching a pike, catching a muskie, catching a walleye, where they're going to cut your line like it's nothing. Zip, gone, and your bait is gone, and the bait is stuck in the fish's mouth, and then he can't feed properly, and it's like it's a no-win situation. So you're fishing with water that contains fish that can cut line like that, always use a trace of some sort. It doesn't have to be steel. You can use fluorocarbon, heavy fluoro, something like that too. So here I have shaky heads, I have EWG, I have frog hooks, big monster swim bait hooks, jigs, brush jigs, shaky heads for worms, flick shake heads like this. So any type of terminal tackle that I would possibly need, I try to have kind of one of everything. If I run into a situation like that where I need to replace something quickly that's been working, like I said, that's for my soft plastics. I have a lot of my flipping baits in this. I use these will go usually in the front of my boat. I want to show you here quick a variety of plastic baits. You can see the Berkley Havoc. These are Skate Reef slap craws. I have rocket craws. These big bite, the warm-out baits, those are fantastic, especially for fish that are coming into spawn. They don't like bluegills around their nests and stuff like that post-spawn, or when they're garden fry. Those are lethal. Those are lethal. Some rage tails. Pit Boss, one of my favorite baits, Berkley Pit Boss. I have more of the warmouth, the big bite fish here. They look like little perch, little bluegill, little sunfish, shell crackers, all sorts of stuff, all different colors. These are some of the Bass Pro Shop pesky perch. Again, you can see there the body of the fish, the tail of the fish. They're small bluegill imitators. These work really well. Bombshell turtles. It's actually a small little soft plastic turtle. You can see it here in the bottom picture here. Baby turtles are nest raiders, so they will come in and eat bass eggs. They'll eat bluegill eggs. The fish will attack them just out of aggravation. I got some white pacu craws, small craws. I got some missile baits, missile craws. Those are really slender. This is a fuse. It's like a tube, real slender craw for flipping. Got some white trash beavers. Those are really good baits. River bugs, Bass Pro Shop river bugs. They're kind of, I know the shine on that light is not good. These are all like beaver type imitations, imitate crawfish, crawdaddies. Rocket craws again. Slop craws again, small crawfish imitators. Pit Boss, again, one of my favorite colors, Vampire Orange. It's black with black on one side, red on the other, with a red flake in it. That's a really good color. Here's a Pit Chunk, which is a smaller version of a Pit Boss. This is in Green Pumpkin. That's another great color for me. Green Pumpkin always works pretty good. More Rage Tails, Menace. Got some little swim baits and some smaller grubs and stuff. So those are the type of baits I'll flip with. Mostly crawfish type stuff or bait fish imitators. They always work really well. This will go in the front of my boat. I have 3 compartments in the front, one right in the very front, and then I have 2 bait boxes on either side of that. So the baits I'm going to use most, I will put in the front, but I will rotate that during the year depending on what I'm going to use. So later on in the year, when I'm going to use a lot of top water or a lot of crankbaits, I'll put top water and crankbaits up there. Right now I'm going to use slipping baits like this, soft plastic, jigs. I will use some swim baits. I have one of my rods here rigged with a swim bait. Let's see. See here, I have it in the carrier. These also use rod sock covers, pretty cheap at Bass Pro or Cabela's, Tackle Warehouse, anywhere like that. Absolutely fantastic for keeping rods in rod lockers or carrying them in your truck. Doesn't get the lines tangled up, doesn't get the rings tangled up, keeps it from getting all beat up. Lure covers too. If you're going to use baits that have big treble hooks like that, use a lure cover so they don't get cut up. You see there, this is a Spro BBZ1 perch, yellow perch color swim bait. I'm going to be using that as a search bait, searching for fish. Put my cover back on here. I have that mounted on fluorocarbon trace. You can see here it's 80 pound, so even if I get a pike, he's not going to break that. It's on 30 pound braid. It's 80 pound trace, and I got 80 pound swivels on it as well. This is a 7 foot. I have a quantum reel, fast reel, 7.5 to 1. This is a medium heavy action rod. One of my favorite rods. Use this for a lot of different things. Use it for top water, use it for swim baits, use it for crankbaits. Pretty versatile. This is a longer rod. This is my flippins rod. As you can see, I have it pre-rigged. This is a Shimano Celis. Got a KVD Quantum Tour Edition reel on there. Again, it's pretty fast, 7 to 1 ratio. You can see I have a number 2 Trokar flipping hook on there with a weight. And the weight is pegged. That's a 1/2 ounce weight. And it's tungsten too, and Green Pumpkin painted. No bait on there though. This is a 7.5 foot medium heavy, fast action tip, very accurate to cast. It can cast, you know, softly into the water. This rod is super light. Can use it all day. It's great. You'll see this rod if you watch some of my other bass videos. You'll see me catching decent smallmouth on that. On my swim bait, I also have another dedicated jig rod. So my next box of baits here will be jigs. I have jigs of all shapes, sizes, colors. Lots of Green Pumpkin, lots of browns, natural, a lot of natural colors. Some of these are swim jigs. Some of these are structured jigs. This is a swim jig. Imitates a bluegill, of course. I have it rigged with a Mike Iaconelli Havoc Devil Spear there, so it gets a swimming tail on it. That's a 3/4 ounce, pretty heavy, fishing for fishing deep water. Some chatter baits here. I have some big These are some I got. The swivel head jigs. It has a pivoting head. It's not a fixed head. It's some of my heavier structure jigs and stuff here. Greg Hackney heavy cover jigs in the green pumpkin, and I have them tipped with the Pit Boss, the craw, in the green pumpkin as well. These are fantastic jigs that I don't know where you can see the hook in it there or not. It's like super big hook. They work really well. But that box is going to be in the front of my boat. I also have a lot of those are large. They're large jigs. They're for largemouth because he has a mouth that they can fit my fist into. But a smallmouth sometimes have unless it's a big smallmouth, they'll have a harder time grabbing those larger jigs. They'll have a tendency to grab the trailers and stuff like that, and they won't get the hook in their mouth. So for a smallmouth, I try and use finesse size jigs, smaller jigs. That way you get much better hookup ratio. Jigs, little jigs like the Bitsy Bugs and stuff like that, small finesse type jigs like this. Right now I think on my pole I have the Mike Iaconelli finesse jig on it. Dynamite. I use my Pepper custom jig. I really like that. It's a small, it's purple. I also use the Jackal spade jig a lot. That's a really good one. But you know, these little smaller jigs are dynamite for smallmouth. Absolutely dynamite, because he can fit the whole thing in his mouth. Whereas a big jig like that, a little harder for a smallmouth to grab onto. Sometimes, like I said, they'll only grab a piece of it and they won't get the hook in their mouth. So it's going to go in the front of my boat. I also have spinnerbaits. Spinnerbait's a good search bait for fall. Whole box of them there, all different sorts, sizes. Lots of bluegill imitators, again, because predominantly my bait fish is bluegill. Don't have too much shad where I am. All wives, sawbellies, minnows, and the bluegills, and yellow perch. That would be my main forage type fish. Another box here. Chatterbaits, swim jigs. Swim jigs are awesome too. You see I got the shad body on it. This is shad color chartreuse. Smallmouth, absolutely dynamite color chartreuse. I got chatterbaits. I got other swim jigs and for bluegill color swim jigs. Small finesse jigs. Here's chatterbait. Chatterbait's good search bait too. You just have to keep experimental. You find out what the fish wants. Okay, one last box before I call it quits because the video is getting kind of long. Definitely jerkbait. See some of my jerkbaits in there. Jerkbait's deadly springtime. Good search bait, especially for when the water's cold. It's one of my favorites. KVD. The jerkbait in the bluegill color. Absolutely deadly. Here's another one of my favorites, the Rapala in the bass color. Great search bait. Good reaction type bait because you can jerk it and pause it. I like to use suspended jerk baits so you can jerk it and stop it, and then the fish will come, up from behind it. He's following it, and it's darting from side to side, and then you stop it, and he's coming up behind it. It's like right in his face. It's like, oh, and he just bites it out of instinct. So you can kind of trigger strikes like that too. Sometimes the fish doesn't want to bite. That works pretty good. Alright, I'm going to leave that for this video, and I'm going to do some more. Go through more of my baits quick. And maybe that will be in the next one because the video is going to be kind of long. One more thing I will mention. Again, like I said, I was talking to the Eternal Angler today about using fluorocarbon leader. This is what I'm using. Suffolk's. It's 80 pound. You can see that or not. It's 80 pound monofilament. And even just a spool like that is very expensive. It is very expensive. This is 33 yards. It's clear. It's Invisalign. The diameter is 0.036, or for metric is 0.92 millimeters, almost a millimeter wide. It is pretty invisible in the water because I have caught smallmouth on this in pretty clear river conditions, one after the other, and they didn't even phase them. So I'm pretty confident in it that it's not going to spook the fish, even though it's pretty thick. It is definitely strong enough. I've caught multiple pickerel, pike and stuff on this. No cuts, no abrasion. It is really abrasion resistant. Now, if I check the line always, every time if I catch a fish that has teeth like that, I'll check the line and make sure that, you know, he hasn't cut a notch in the line or made a little indent in it. If he did, I will change it. I won't risk you know, losing a good fish over a little cut in the line. 33 yards will make me a lot of leaders. Like I said, it is quite expensive, but that's going to last me a long time. For larger fish, especially for pike and muskie, I mean, for a bass you can get away, you know, for regular guarded bass fishing, just in case you get a pike or just in case you get a, you know, a pickerel or something like that, I'm gonna have a 1.5 foot leader. That's about it. If I'm purposely fishing for muskie or pike, that leader is going to be a lot long, at least 2 to 3 feet. This type of length, because especially if you're using jerk baits, if the jerk bait is zigzagging side to side and the pike comes up from behind it, what he's going to do is he's going to come in from behind the bait, he's going to inhale the bait, and he's going to inhale half your leader, because the bait is facing to him. So he's going to come right up. A lot of times they'll come right up behind it, and you know, if you get a big pike, he can inhale, you know, an 8-9 inch bait like it's nothing, and he'll have that down into his mouth, and then your leader is fully exposed to his teeth. So a short leader, you know, he can swallow. If you have a short leader on there, he can have the whole leader and the lure in his mouth at the same time, and they actually bite through your main line. So give yourself plenty of leader for big fish like that. For muskie, or if I'm specifically fishing for pike, I won't solely use I will for the smaller baits, I will, but if I'm using real big baits, I'll use titanium leader. I'll always use steel. I guess I'm old school. I don't trust the fluorocarbon 100%, even though 80 to 100 pound fluoro is incredible. I mean, they use that for you know, barracuda fishing and stuff too, so it is pretty tough. It is pretty tough. All right, well, I'll cover some more baits and some more loading in my boat as we go along. Keep watching for the next video. Thanks for watching.